overhead compartment, your smaller one, underneath the seat in front of you, keeping all exits and aisles clear. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard. Once you have located your seat, we ask that you please step out of the aisle. Tell the passengers behind you can pass you. This will expedite our boarding process. Your large carry-on items need to go in the overhead compartment. Your smaller one underneath the seat in front of you, keeping all exits and aisles clear.
I can hear everything
Good
you're
evening,
doing.
ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard. Once you have
Somehow
located
there's
your
audio
seat, we ask
coming
that you
in.
please step out of the aisle. Tell the passengers behind you can pass you. This will
So keep
expedite
it
our boarding
muted when you're
process.
live and we'll figure that out later.
Your large
Can you hear
carry-on
anything now?
items need
No,
to
not
go in
now,
the
but I could hear you
overhead
typing.
compartment. Your
Oh,
smaller one
okay,
underneath the seat
weird.
in front of
See,
you,
but there's no
keeping
audio,
all
no
exits
source.
and
I
aisles
don't know.
clear.
I'll figure that out.
Okay. What?
I can hear us.
What?
I can still hear us even though you're
How?
not
It's
speaking.
muted. Oh, is it using a different source?
I think it's using your headphones.
Good
What?
evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome aboard. Once you have located your seat, we ask that you please step out of the aisle. Tell the passengers behind you can pass you. This will expedite.
What? Still can't. Okay, what?
I don't know.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Well, it's muted. I don't know why you can hear me. First stream.
Just go.
Okay. Welcome. Welcome, y'all, for the first live stream of the Austin Boarding Pass. I'm Charlie. Today we're going to be looking at the top 5 worst flights to take this summer. I hope you haven't booked them already. We're looking at the data. This is going to be a project that I'm starting that's going to be all about the Austin airport, keeping you in front of delays and cancellations, to keep you informed, make data-based decisions, to keep people ahead of what's gone on this week, really, because there's been some crazy delays this week, especially on the East Coast, especially United Airlines. So let's get into the data. I just want to look, first of all, what's gone on this week. Let me screen share here. Oops. Screen share not my stream key. Let's not do that. No. Nothing. There we go. So this is part of my dashboard that I've been creating over the past month or so. This is data I've been collecting back since May 19th was the first day I started collecting data on airport, or I guess flight flight performance. So you can see over time, really what the stats have shown over time. And then the thing I'm sort of interested in lately has been just United Airlines the past week, what has gone on. So just in the past week, United Airlines has canceled 21% of their flights at Austin Airport. So second place, Frontier. So generally speaking, if you've been taking those airlines, especially the past couple days, we scroll down here, we can see roughly over a quarter of those flights, a third to a quarter of those flights have been canceled. There's even a canceled flight tomorrow on United Airlines already. So they have had some serious problems on the East Coast. They've had some serious problems dealing with weather and all sorts of different issues. So I don't fully understand exactly what's gone on. I know there's been some They've pointed to weather, and I know it's mostly operational type problems, and it seems to be mostly contained to United Airlines now. So if you're flying anyone else, you probably should be okay. Like we can look at, I think Delta had some problems as well earlier. Well, you can just see here if we just look at this, you can see every other airline. If we include all the other airlines, it's actually not that bad. Really not that remarkable. This blue is the canceled flight. So, yeah. So let's get into the top 5 worst flights to avoid. This is data that I am not including the past week of just crazy cancellations, and we can look at that at the end of if I did include the past week, what would actually happen? Because I actually pulled this data on Sunday before these East Coast flight problems started. But because it would just basically be all United, and we'll look at that in a little bit for those of you who hate United Airlines, I guess. But let's see, does the screen share work? Nice. Okay. Sweet. Let's get into the top 5 worst flights to avoid this summer. I hope you haven't booked them already. These are all flights that I think the minimum number of flights I've required since May 19th has been about 10 flights. 10 flights are the minimum, and these are flights that you can still book to this day. So let's see. Top 5 flights to avoid this summer. And the criteria I'm using here is called flight score. Flight score is it's kind of like I'm a teacher. So really, you get 1 point for being late. You get 8/10 of a point for being, or sorry, you get one full point for being on time. You get 8/10 of a point for being late, excessively late. It only gives you 2/10 of a point. So, and if you're canceled, you get 0 credit. So then we just sum up your number of points divided by the total number of flights, and that's sort of like your grade basically. So if you were always on time every single flight, you would get 100%. If you're always canceled, you get a 0. All right, so number 5 worst flight is this American Airlines flight 1781, and it's going to Orlando. This is actually, I also include the sort of return flight, so it actually goes to Orlando and then comes back. So the departing flight is a 68-minute average delay, and then the returning flight is 69-minute average delay, and it's only on time 14% of the time. So this ends up with a grade of D. So this is pretty bad. I don't think you can pass a class in college with a D. So this is actually a pretty terrible flight to take either way. So the arrival flight was just very close. It's very similar performance just because it's basically the return leg of that same flight. So that's why I included it here. This is American Airlines to Orlando. Number 4. And you'll notice some trends here with all these different flights. We'll talk about them. Is Southwest Airlines to Sacramento via San Diego. So it's a Southwest 1483. It's a departing flight, so it departs at 4:35 p.m. in Austin. Its average delay is an hour, and it's only on time 14% of the time. So this is a sort of late afternoon flight that gets you over to California, and this is also a pretty terrible flight to take. And because it's only on time 40% of the time, and now the benefit of this, at least if you're going to Sacramento, is you're not going to miss your connection because it's the same plane. So you'll just get there on average an hour late. But that is a good thing, I guess, that you won't miss a connection in San Diego. But there's a chance they could cancel that second leg if it's really late. Number 3, it's a really short flight. Just over to Dallas. It's also Southwest Airlines, Southwest 3547. It departs Austin at 9:50 p.m. So that's probably like my first red flag with this flight. It is such a late in the day flight, which means that you get an average delay of 70 minutes. So anything that happens to that airplane that's supposed to fly that route throughout the day is going to compound and compound over the course of the day to an average delay of 70 minutes. And another weird thing that can happen with late in the day flights is that they're just more likely to be delayed until the morning. So generally speaking, you can't. I don't know exactly what the cutoff is. At some point, the airport's just like, hey, it's too late. You can't just like leave. You can't just take off. So they'll just delay it until like 6 a.m. or 9 a.m., which can also just be a huge hassle because you have to Uber back home or you have to get a friend to pick you up, take you back home, or get another night in a hotel or whatever. And it's just a huge hassle. So these late evening flights, and there will be a couple more in here, really can bump up that average delay and also got a score of a D. Number 2 is Southwest Airlines again to San Jose, and this is Southwest Airlines 3643. This flight has a 70-minute average delay. It's on time only 33% of the time, so it's a little bit better on-time performance, but that average delay and the significance of that delay gets it to score only a 53 on this flight. So, and this is actually an arrival flight, so this is one of these red-eye flights from California. If you've ever done one, I've done one. They're pretty terrible just because you land, you're jet-lagged, and maybe you had a whole day of work before this and you don't really get any sleep. So not only that, but this flight is more likely to be delayed more than an hour. So it's just not a flight I would recommend you take. Really, that's it on this flight. I just think, you're arriving past midnight, 12:50, but really with that delay, you might be arriving at 2 a.m. And bars aren't even going to be open when you land. So, I mean, what's the point going to Austin, right? I have a dishonorable mention here. It didn't end up in the rankings because it just didn't score. It actually scored a little bit better than probably it should, but it is the Spirit Airlines. I know everyone loves Spirit Airlines. Spirit Airlines going to and from Fort Lauderdale Airport in Florida, and it's Spirit 517 and 512. Both of these, like as you see, the arrival actually has a negative delay. It actually shows up earlier than it's scheduled, on an average negative 3 minutes early. Well, I guess 3 minutes early. And then it has an on-time percentage of 64%, and then the departing flight has an on-time percentage of 55%. So those are not terrible numbers. Those are pretty average, if anything, if not actively good. But it's just those cancellation numbers. Those are some of the most heavily canceled flights. It was only 2 out of the 11 flights I tracked were canceled. So it's possible that just things got unlucky with this flight and there was some bad weather in Florida. But this was something I just had to call out. Both of these flights had 2 cancellations out of 11. So this flight clearly, through thick and thin, they're just going to immediately cancel on you if there's anything that goes wrong with that flight or the weather or whatever. So I would just avoid this one if you can. Now, I do want to call it the dashboard that powers all this. This is something you can get access to through my Patreon. Just $5 a month. You can get access to filter this however you want. Here's an example here. I have all this on my screen here. Let me move this to the side here. So you can see here, I can filter my dashboard here. This is real-time data I'm pulling in based on flight stats for all the flights out of Austin or arriving in Austin. And you can see here that I can filter here, like Denver Airport, and I want to pick the best flights. Well, here I'm filtering by the worst flights. So maybe don't take these ones here, right? You can see these ones that are 36% on time. And a lot of these ones here clearly are later in the day. Or very early in the morning are typically some of the ones that are on time the least. But I do want to just shout out the dashboard real quick. And also you can get access to my Patreon. You can filter by, what you can look up, hey, I bought this flight. What are the stats actually on that flight? Or you could say, hey, I want to look by destination, right? Like Denver. Or you could even say, hey, what is the best airline to take on a particular route? Or hey, I want to get to Fort Lauderdale or Miami or wherever. What's the best airline to take on that route? So this is a really powerful tool that I've created. It has live updating data every single day. So I've had a lot of fun making this, and I'm really curious about this data when I've been delayed. And this next flight will, maybe I'll tell you a story with this next flight about why I started making this dashboard here. So number one, another short flight. Hey, it's an arriving flight from Dallas Fort Worth Airport, American Airlines. It arrives here at 9 p.m. It is 27:07. Average delay 2 hours. So that average delay, very few flights actually had an average delay of 2 hours on this flight. But on time 40% of the time, which is actually one of the highest if we go back, to here like Southwest 33%, 15%. So this flight 40% is quite high. But the reason for that number being so high, the average delay so high, is that a lot of these flights, if they get delayed, will just go in the morning. So they won't cancel the flights. You can see 0% cancellation. But you'll just say, hey, the flight will leave at 6 a.m. from DFW to Austin, or 9 a.m. And that's why this one gets docked so heavily, is that so many of these flights are just are either on time and they're normal, or they're excessively late because they're multiple hours late, and they arrive in the morning. And this is just sort of another one of these late evening flights that I would just not recommend you take. I think it's probably worth it. Just spend an extra night DFW, or not do a quick. I think a lot of people do this thing where they fly to DFW for like one meeting and then they come back to Austin. I think you're going to end up staying a night at the airport probably about, I don't know, like 60% of the time anyway. I guess American Airlines would be paying for it, so I guess if you don't really care, then I guess that's fine. I think a lot of people are going to be coming back from either transatlantic flights or flights within the U.S. and then coming to Austin at 9:17, and that has got to be a bummer. If you're doing a big, long day of travel, I would just try to avoid this particular connecting flight, 27:07. And the story I had was we had a flight to Las Vegas. It was also American Airlines. Maybe I could look it up on the dashboard here in a little bit, but it was a 9 p.m. or like 7 p.m., something like that, late evening flight, and there was a mechanical problem with the plane, so it ends up we're sitting at the airport until I think 1 a.m. or something. The flight doesn't go. They delay it till the morning, 9 a.m. They still have mechanical problems with the plane. So eventually the plane, we end up going through, I think, Chicago. It was a direct flight originally to Las Vegas, and we end up getting to Las Vegas, I think, about 24 hours or 18 hours or so late, just because you have one of these late evening flights where things can go wrong, and they can go wrong in a really bad way, because they don't have crews. They may not have maintenance crews that are around at that time of night. I just would recommend avoiding these late night flights. And with that, I want to just show you the stats for this is also another thing that you get access to with the Patreon, though, is my forecast. So predicting how busy the airport is going to be. I actually have a Twitter account for a while that has been predicting how busy the airport is going to be. And what I normally tweet is like how busy the airport's going to be. So we can see here tomorrow, Friday, it's going to be a busy day. We can look at this, going to refresh here with the numbers. It's going to be above normal wait times at the airport tomorrow, but you can also see by hour of the day what times are expected to be busy. Usually 5 a.m., 6 a.m. are some of the busiest times of the day, but we could look at Saturday, which Saturday is actually one of the least busy days. And you can see this here. This is like the past data here in orange, and then the prediction here in blue. So very cool sort of data trends that you can view with that. But I did want to show the flight stats dashboard, which is how I created this tool, or this presentation. And yeah, you can see my code there, my ugly code. But you can see here so if we filter here, so these are the worst flights at the top. United Airlines rounds out all of them because the past week has been kind of a bloodbath for them in terms of cancellations. So many canceled flights here. See this flight to Newark We're only tracking 8 of those flights, but half of them have been canceled. So many of those flights are canceled or late. We have yeah, all of these: LAX, United Airlines, Denver, Houston. So yeah, but what was so I guess yeah, maybe we'll take a look at it. We'll say Las Vegas was my flight. It was American Airlines. We can just take a look. So you can see a lot of these flights are later in the day, which makes sense for Las Vegas flights. But ours, I think, I don't remember what it was like. Yeah, 1913 sounds right. It's one of these later in the day flights. Oh, that's an arrival. I'm not sure which one it was, but well, let's look at just departures. I guess people have gotten luckier than I have, but you can really see in the stats here which flights are the best flights to take. You can see American Airlines on time 74% of the time to Las Vegas. So that's really cool. Where you could compare here all the different airlines here: Allegiant, Frontier. Allegiant is secretly, I think, my favorite airline at Austin Airport because they fly out of the South Terminal, and I think I might do a whole video all about the South Terminal and why it's great, and maybe it'll be like an ode to the South Terminal because it is going away. But Allegiant does have some pretty great stats when it comes to on time and whatnot. So, and I don't know what they've been like this week, but I don't think they've really flied to the New York area. So, yeah, I think that's it for this first stream. Thanks y'all for watching. Don't take those top 5 flights. Maybe I'll do a top 5 like unique flights or flights that go to cool destinations. Maybe not Dallas Love Field. I feel like Dallas is where everyone ends up going. I've never been to Dallas Airport. Well, Dallas Love Airport. I've been to the DFW Airport. You know, like I see the there's like a Papados in there, which is pretty cool, I guess. I think Houston also has a Papados in it. But yeah, well, maybe we'll talk about unique and cool destinations that have good flight stats, and we'll do a top 5 best flights to take this summer. But yeah, thanks for watching. See y'all.